Awesome. Welcome back to the Retention Edge podcast. Today we've got Nick Trueman here with us from Spec Digital. Nick, give everyone a quick intro on yourself, man.
Hey, thank you so much, Eric. And great to be here. I founded Spec Digital in 2011. So we've been around longer than most of the digital world that is in current existence. I've been working in PPC SEO since about 2007 now. So I've been doing it for quite a while. We also run a podcast as well. Just saying to Eric, I'm quite used to this environment. I run 2 shows a week, one show, but 2 episodes a week as well, called Winning with Shopify. So my agency mostly focuses on PPC and SEO. So we're very search engine focused, Google focused, but then we work across the fringes of lots of other outbound channels, as we call them, rather than high intent inbound channels. So I don't know how much you want to know, Eric, but that's us in a nutshell.
How did you get into the SEO PPC space all the way back in 2007, you said?
Like most good people, completely by accident. I was 17. I was at college and my car broke, and I was working for Domino's at the time delivering pizzas, and I really needed a car. So on MSN Messenger, so for any old people listening like myself, MSN Messenger was a thing we used to use before Slack, Skype, text messages, WhatsApp, all that sort of stuff. And messaged a friend of mine who had started a business, no idea what it was doing. And day one, he gave me a phone and said, cold call lots of businesses. And I said, Simon, I can't do this. And by mid-afternoon, I quit. And then the next day he said, right, come back. Why don't you manage some Google Ads accounts? And that's how I started off. That was in 2007. So by 2009, I left and started getting my own business running and was freelancing and stuff initially. 2011, founded it, sold it once in the meantime, rebuilt it, and kind of upgraded everything in the process. So it's been quite a wild ride. Yeah, as I say, a really random way of getting into it. But I've always been very mathematical and always wanted to run a business. So it felt like an obvious career for me as soon as I started working. And it was everything here's analytical and numbers based. And I want to run a business. Let's run this kind of business.
How much easier was it back in 2007 when it came to running PPC ads and everything like that on Google compared to today?
That is a fantastic question. I think about this sometimes, and when I think back, it's easy to say, oh, it was the good old days. Didn't even have conversion tracking. It wasn't a thing. It just come out, I think, when I was about 2 or 3 years in. And so even then, so when you look back in terms of like the complexities, there were less complexities. Trying to get it to work back then, I'd say it was harder. There was a lot less data available. There was no AI to support you of anything. Writing ad copy, you had to write it yourselves. The actual ads themselves on Google, incredibly restrictive. It was just sort of one headline, one description, and then they released 2 headlines, 2 descriptions. And then we had this thing called expanded text ads, and then it got changed to what is now responsive, where you put loads of headlines, loads of descriptions. Google jumbles them all up and doesn't feedback which ones are working best and not. It says good and not good, or average and above average and below average, which doesn't really mean anything because Google's definition of it working might be conversions, the highest CPC for Google, the most expensive click. So it was a lot less complexities, but I wouldn't necessarily say it was easier back then, or that it was even more complicated. I think it's just very different now. Businesses as well have evolved and changed. Back then, mobile wasn't even a thing. The iPhone 3 hadn't even been, I don't think any iPhone had been released. Apple computers were still absolutely enormous. I got a new Mac in front of me I'm on at the moment, and it's lighter than my iPad. It's insane how small they are now. But that's tech. Tech always gets smaller. So yeah, I wouldn't say it was necessarily any more or less complicated before. It's changed a lot. It's probably more things to think about now, I would say.
When do you think was kind of the golden era of Google Ads, when it was kind of this combination of being the most affordable to run those ads in combination with having the most data at your fingertips so that you could actually make these really informed decisions with your ad spend?
That is another I never get asked questions like that. That's a great question. I don't think there was a golden era. I think there's been a few things that have come and gone. One that ended when I was a year in is Google used to give a percentage of your ad spend from your clients back to the agency as an incentive to get your clients to spend more. They stopped it in about 2008, 2009. I can't remember the date exactly, but I remember they were definitely doing it when I started, and my boss was freaking out when they stopped. And the reason they stopped is lots of agencies would just keep access to clients they hadn't managed for 20, 30 years. Maybe not that long, but certainly they weren't managing them anymore, but we're still getting the commission. Bing is running a similar scheme at the moment. So again, it's something that went away and it's kind of come back with Bing to try and grow Bing's presence. I would actually say that the era we're in right now, if you know what you're doing with, I would say, number crunching processes, like using AI to crunch marketing data. We've never had so much data at our fingertips. Yet most brands we come across, we actually checked the other day, and I haven't got the figure here. It's over 90% of the businesses we talk to don't have good tracking set up on their website. So all marketing decisions are based on like nonsense or data that's not correct that they think's correct, or they're just not. Or most companies, they're not even using the data. And I'm sure a lot of us can relate to that. I make so many decisions as a business owner completely on a whim, on gut feel. People are still doing that. I would say we're probably in the golden era now in terms of data availability, but I think we've gone back into the dark ages in terms of data use. And I see lots of brands really struggling. And when you peel it back, we call it data mining. We've got a bit of a new brand coming out at Spec at the moment. And our whole positioning is data mining, strategy development, and then agile testing. And the data mining piece is the bit people can't be bothered to do. I found an issue on a site recently, and I won't name any names because then I can say everything that I found in this. I had a look, and it turned out they were like 85% reliant on Google Ads, but GA4 wasn't telling them that because there was an issue with their cookie banner. And we told them this and they knew the issue. But then when we started to drill back to actually look at server logs and how people landed on the site, they came with a slight ID number change in the server log when they came from Google Ads, which is borderline illegal to have access to that data, but a server can't not track it. When I say illegal, it's illegal in the UK and the EU. And the UK is
Yeah.
about to do away with all of that, and the EU is not. We're getting rid of cookie banners and stuff here in January, which is quite exciting. So there's loads of things happening. But does that make sense? I say we're in the dark ages with how we're using data, but we're in the glory days of having data. And I think we've got too much too quickly, I think has been
And
everybody's
why do you
issue.
think that is? Like, obviously, there was this whole issue with the GA4 rollout, and everyone just
Mm,
kind of, all their analytics went to shit.
yeah.
Uh, do you think that's the cause of a good portion, if not the majority, of these tracking issues? Do you think it's brands just don't care, don't know how? Like, what are these top kind of issues that are causing it? Because it seemed like to me, we're what, 20 years into the Google Ads era, basically, more or less. You'd
Yeah.
think we'd have this at least somewhat figured out at this point, but clearly we
Mm.
don't.
Yeah, there's been so many things to attack data collection, and cookies are part of that. Browsers and privacy are part of that. I saw a study the other day of EU citizens, and over 98% of them, I think it was like 98.5%, we'll just round it to there, 98.5% didn't know what a cookie was, and over 85% didn't care what cookies were.
Hmm.
And over 80% of people, so you kind of go from like, okay, we're at 98.5%, then we're at nice. And I think it's about 84, 85% of people were actually saying that, like, I don't care about cookies. And then you get to the 80% of people were saying, I don't feel unsafe online. So
Hmm.
why is it that the EU are attacking cookies so much and people's privacy when people don't care about it? And then, I mean, you guys out across the Atlantic from us, you're adopting quite a lot of the stuff that's happening here in Brussels just to
Exactly.
conform, because the EU also don't understand that there aren't borders when it comes to digital. A server,
Hmm.
most businesses have pop-up servers in the EU, in the UK, in the US, in Australia, in Singapore, in China. And it's just happening in real time based on who wants to visit the site. And then they release laws changing that. So I think go back to your question, like with the data stuff, I think there's so many things attacking what data you are and are not allowed. And very few companies have actually got in trouble. I've never found a single case where someone's not had a cookie banner in the EU and has got in trouble for it. And they increased the legislation on that about 18 months ago. And hence why the UK has reacted in June 2025, saying we're going to pass a law that starts in January 26th. That we're going to say if you're on a website that sells products or services, that falls under what we call in our law legitimate interest. You are legitimately interested in this product, so fair enough. They should be allowed to market to you. They've spent money getting you here in the first place. So as long as the data's anonymized, it should be fine.
Yeah.
And I think one of the issues, going back to a comment I made earlier, I think one of the issues when it comes to marketeers using this data and trying to make kind of headway of this is think that tech is always adapting way too fast for humans. Like our physique, I mean, the amount of, I don't know if you have them, but I've got an app that helps me relax on my phone. I go to the gym to work out. That's how far the human race has come. Like we're not even adopted. So when you suddenly go, all right, Google in 2003, 2004, in its infancy, you could just write a few bits of text and put an advert up. And yes, the click costs were cheaper. They're actually cheaper now when you factor in inflation. If you know what you're doing, they've not got more expensive. But now we've got access to all this data. So things like Performance Max in Google has come along. And that's been a game changer because it's machine learning meets AI meets you feed some stuff in and it doesn't really report back apart from top line clicks, costs, conversions, if you set your conversions up properly, which most people haven't.
Hmm.
And so I think there's a whole range of things like that that are quite concerning when you start to look at how quickly the tech's adapted. I will say that when you mentioned about the GA4 rollout and people losing all their data, I smiled slightly because we made a lot of money and signed a lot of clients fixing
Right.
GA4 for them at the
Yeah.
time, which is, in a way, it's been really good for us. We're very, very energetic as a team. And every week it's like, what's the new stuff? Friday morning huddle, we will jump on Slack and it's like, what's the new stuff that's come out this week? And GEO is the big thing at the moment. So obviously everyone knows SEO, and this is for basically doing SEO, but specifically for AI bots and ChatGPT and stuff like that, and Gemini. So that's come out. There's a new file we need to put on a site for SEO. And like 99% of our clients' competitors have not even touched it or even thought about it yet. So we roll it out and suddenly we get loads of traffic from ChatGPT. So there's always good opportunities. I think the hard thing, and this is what tires people out, is keeping up with all of this. I find it really exciting, but I'm in my mid-30s now, and I think in 5 or 10 years I'm going to really struggle to keep going at the pace I have. So I've got
Yeah.
to keep hiring smart, energetic people to work in the team. But yeah, it's not easy. I look at a lot of our clients and I do sympathize with them a lot. Going, I'm here shouting at you about this. You probably got your PR agency, your social agency, your internal team, the board, and based on ages and experience of the individuals you're speaking to, based on the kind of range of responses you're going to get. So yeah, I sympathize a lot with people wrestling with this who don't understand it. But that's why
Right.
you hire someone who knows what they're doing. But then there's a lot of crooks that pretend they know what they're doing, and it's a real challenge.
So many different directions we can go there because
Yeah, sorry.
no, I
There's a
mean,
lot in there.
there was for sure because so I think there's the thread we can jump into with like what do you call it, GEO? I haven't heard the term.
GEO. Yeah, yeah.
I haven't heard I mean, I've heard of LLM SEO and people referring to that. I haven't
Yeah, yeah.
heard of the term GEO, which is interesting. We'll jump into that in a second. I think
Yeah,
I
yeah.
could agree with you in terms of like what the EU's doing and how they're basically completely intent on just ruining the internet experience for everyone. Basically,
Yeah, yeah.
cookie banners have just been a complete blight on UI UX on websites now
Yeah,
for
yeah.
however long it's been. Just like just the worst experience ever created. And again, like you said, it's anonymized data, not really too many privacy concerns, and clearly most people, if not 99% of people, don't know what a cookie is and don't
Yep.
care what a cookie is in the first place. If anything, like, what the internet has shown us and what society has shown us over the last, you know, 20 years is that people care less and less about privacy over
Yeah.
time. If
It's like, I
anything,
just want to buy a new phone
online,
case. Like,
smart.
yeah.
Exactly, right? And yeah, anyways, I think that was interesting. In terms of let's jump into the AI,
Mm.
SEO, GEO. First off, what is GEO? What does it stand for? And what are you doing differently to optimize for LLMs versus what you should be doing to optimize for regular
Yeah.
SEO? Yeah.
Yeah. It's a very good question. And if I'm allowed to plug my podcast, we've got Yoast sponsoring the show at the moment. And as someone who works in SEO and an SEO team, Yoast, if you've never heard of it, it's the most used website plugin in the world of all website plugins. It's made its name in WordPress as an SEO assistant. So it does lots of things in the code for you. It gives you boxes on every page to fill out for what your listing's going to look like on Google. They're at the forefront of rolling a few things out within Shopify at the moment, which our podcast is about Shopify, hence why they're involved in that. GEO stands for Generative Engine Optimization. And yes, I'm reading it because I've only learned this in the last couple of years. So I'm reading it off. I quickly searched up on our system which one is. We all know the term GEO. But the big difference really is that they're not going to crawl like a normal Google crawler. So where you're trying to get your code clean and everything else, it doesn't really worry about any of that. It just worries about that core content. What are you actually talking about on this site? And then there's a file called they're called LLM. So that's the name of the bot that looks as an LLM. And there's a small file called an LLM. I think it's LLMs.txt. I've spoken about it quite a few times on the show, but I don't have my show notes in front of me right now. I've got an enormous notepad, which I've pretty much filled in the last 2 weeks with stuff going on in the AI world. But you got a new file, and it's a bit like if anyone's ever looked at a robots.txt on SEO for traditional SEO, basically tells the chatbot where to go, or the agent where to go to find the AI information, what pages it should look at, which ones are a waste of time. The biggest challenge, and we can go down lots of routes, like you said on this, the biggest challenge brands are having, and the thing that we're getting asked a lot at the moment, which is and I was asking myself at first, and I've kind of gone full circle going, I can't change it, If Google takes my content on Gemini and puts it at the top of a search and just shows, here's an AI generated answer based on two websites, three websites, people are not clicking through to the site. Now, from a commercial perspective, this is a problem. And it's
Mhm.
a problem because if somebody says, what is 100% organic cotton? That's a keyword. And we are a 100% organic cotton clothing brand. And we've written a blog post. And it's all hypothetical, of course. We've written a blog post about organic clothing and why 100% organic is vegan, why it's so important, why it's so soft, why it costs what it does. Sometimes organic cotton is really cheap. Sometimes it's quite expensive because of different types. And where they grow and other stuff is the quality of the cotton. And you got a blog post about that. If someone clicks through to your site and reads that blog post, now you're in control. Say, join our newsletter to hear more stuff about this. Bang, I'm into email marketing. I've acquired a customer. I just need to get them to purchase from me now. Or you can say, hey, why don't you buy this organic cotton product? Or you're looking at organic cotton. You must be interested in purchasing something. So these are our main 5 product categories. Which one are you most interested in? Or
Yeah.
actually, here's our chatbot, our AI chatbot. Do you want to ask it some questions about cotton? Or what specifically did you want to know about cotton? And that's the challenge, is people aren't getting that traffic anymore because Google or ChatGPT is answering the question for them. I don't know if you, Eric, have tried, or if people listening have tried this, but trying to ask ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude or something, trying to ask them for sources of their information, they're not forthcoming. And that
Mhm.
also is a challenge. I honestly believe the next law case that's going to go through, like the global courts, US courts, European courts or something, is going to be on the basis that all these, like ChatGPT, Google, they are stealing people's information, learning from it and regurgitating it with slightly different wording. But it's like if somebody does a study on what the best place to grow organic cotton is, how can you stop ChatGPT from just saying this is the best place based on lots of studies, which is kind of true, but people have paid lots of money to do those studies, so it's not your information to share. And that's going to be, I think, the next big argument where AI is actually going to get locked down quite a lot for the information it can find.
We're
We
seeing it a lot
internally we
right
use AI for
now.
tasks.
Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah.
go
I
on.
mean, we're seeing it a lot right now with I think it was Anthropic,
Mm.
if I'm remembering correctly, that just lost this big lawsuit for
Oh,
stealing
really?
like 500,000 books of content basically from authors. And
Huh.
basically the lawsuit ended up being that they had to pay like $3,000 per author or something like that. And again, that
Yeah.
might have actually been a good deal for them considering, because then they went and raised another like $20
Mm.
billion dollars or something like
Through the
that.
press. Yeah, yeah,
Here.
yeah.
It's like, okay,
Mm.
we've trained our model now, but we've raised another 20 billion dollars. We're paying $1
Yep.
billion, and the arithmetic for them is very simple. Okay, we paid $1 billion, but hey,
Mm.
we raised 20, and we can keep moving on, and we don't need this concept anymore because our
Yeah.
model is so advanced. And how do you even at the point with a lot of these models, how do you even remove like specific content from them that you've trained your models on, right? You almost,
Yep.
in a way, and so you're exactly right. It's already starting to
Mm.
happen. It's going to continue to happen for, like you said, the next 5 years probably, or next
Yeah,
decade.
yeah. And
Like six.
brands are angry. Like, and content creators are angry, especially written content creators.
Mhm.
Video and image kind of okay at the moment. Like, you've got your following on TikTok, and you keep making content for your following on
Yeah,
TikTok, and that's all fine. But lots of content writers, they're angry, going, "I write something once, ChatGPT makes 50 versions of it, and suddenly all our competitors have got a piece of content about it." It's like that's not okay. And then it's because what it's going to stop is it's going to stop people creating content, doing studies, learning things, unless they know they can control the whole conversation around it. But again, I saw something in the news. I can't remember what it was, but there's some study about the environment recently. I've been quite interested to sort of see what's going on in the world. And I read a study about it. And then I remember asking Grok, X's or Twitter, their AI bot. I found Grok actually more useful than most of the others. It's the one I use the most at the moment. Probably change next week. That's how quick things are changing. But I asked Grok, like, what is the best, I think it was like the best material of metal to use in a wind farm. And it came back with all the information that I just read in this news article. Same kind of figures, same sort of studies, same conclusion, no
mhm,
source. So I said, how do you know this? Where's this come from? And it's like, and he basically gave me a generic, like, I'm always learning kind of thing from
yeah,
Grok. So I asked it again, what is the source of this information? This information must have come from somewhere. What is the source of this information? And eventually did say, oh, it's from this study, but it quoted the original site, not the news article I'd read. And the news article obviously had the journalism on top. So the news article was like getting ignored, but that's the one that was really popular and came up on Google News and came up on Google search. But the original study was kind of ignored. It was the news article that had got all the traction. So it's a bit like, okay, so you've taken the original source, but then not the article. So
Mhm.
like publishers are just so confused going, and people, it is quite nice. I don't know if you've done it yourself, but it's quite nice shopping on ChatGPT. I uploaded
Yeah.
a picture of myself and said, what colors should I wear? And it said, based on your eye cut, I've got different colored eyes. And it said, because you've got
Oh,
different colored eyes, you should do this. And I was like, what? It's zoomed in like, is it because it checks every pixel because it's AI and it can. I thought it was fascinating. See what sort of colors it said I should wear more
based off
green.
your eye color, based off your skin tone, based off
Mm.
of whatever, they're like, "Okay, now these are the colors that look good
Pale
on."
British, different colored eyes. Like, yeah, I should wear green, which is the color of our country.
Oh,
Everywhere you
okay.
go is green. But
Well, there's clearly a reason for that now. Now I know. Uh, um, okay, so obviously it's getting more and more difficult for brands right now to like you said, a lot of brands are losing out on that direct AI traffic.
Mm,
Maybe occasionally they're getting at, people are asking, okay, where did this information come from? But I think like me and you might be a little bit different than the average consumer who
mm.
doesn't really care where the information comes from. They
True.
just want the answer.
Yep.
Uh, and so what are the different ways to kind of work around this to create that customer journey to get them to come back to the brand now? Like how should brands approach this moving forward?
We've got more than one client that's blocked AI bots from coming on their site. They've gone
Hmm.
that extreme and gone, if AI is going to grab it and put it in their AI listings, we don't want to be featured because we're not going to get any it's a waste. It's wasted money. We're just feeding information to them and we're not getting anything back for it.
Yeah.
More than ever, I mean, if you on Google especially as being the biggest search engine, if you search for something, Google Shopping comes up, then you get the images sometimes or straight into the SEO listings under the Google Shopping ads and the text ads. So when you're shopping, it's for brands, I wouldn't be too worried at this moment in time. It's the how to's and the what ifs and the, like, for example, we had a baby recently and my wife and I were like, what's the difference between a pushchair, a stroller and a pram? I think they're probably different words in the US, but that's what we call them in the UK. And there were differences. And we were having a classic over dinner argument, like, no, they're the same thing, obviously. And we work with Mamas and Papas who are quite big in this space. And I was delighted to find the Mamas and Papas blog article we helped write came up number one. But it was also featured in the SEO listing, in the AI listing, sorry. So I think for brands, there is a concern over that content of like, we're seen as the authority on this space. And we're
Yeah.
not going to be seen as the authority in 5 years' time because there'll be all these new parents coming into the space that know we exist, might have heard our brand somewhere. I think what brands need to do, and I've been shouting about this for years and this has not changed, is brands are too reliant on new customer acquisition to drive their business. And when you think about AI content, people not visiting the site, the best way to counter it is to say every single person that comes on this site, rule one is they got to try and buy a product. That's our first and foremost focus. If
Right.
they're going to buy a product, just get them through the cart, make it efficient, get the average order value good, but not so good we start losing customers. And then rule number two is all the people that don't purchase or all the people that do purchase, so 100% of everybody needs to subscribe to email. You're never going to get 100%, but brands basically just go, we're just a black and white marketplace of our products. There's not much brand awareness on here and there's nothing to sign up. There's no reason to join our database. So there's a brand we absolutely love. Her name's Janice Thomas. She's managing director of Look Fabulous Forever. She's been on my podcast loads. She spoke at an event we ran a week before recording this. And she talks so much about some of the social media campaigns and saying that we make makeup for what's classified as older women, which is actually the over 35s. Makeup is made for women under 35, generally under 30. I might have got this number slightly wrong, but it's younger than you'd expect. Older women sounds like
Okay.
retirement and kind of 50s plus. It's
Yeah.
not. It's younger, and she makes a real point of saying that's a misconception. So they make a whole point of saying for someone to buy our makeup instead of going to the local pharmacy or a convenience store or grocery store or supermarket or something, instead of going there, which you know and trust and have been using the same thing for 20 years, we need to educate people about our products. So when you land on their site, it's so much more focused and geared at, hey, come sign up to our newsletter. And that's really powerful. I think brands sometimes run a competition, get loads of signups, and these people just want free stuff. They're not customers. Other times people run a competition where there is a level of competing and they have to
Hmm.
do something and they get the targeting right. And then you get loads of great people, and some of them even start buying products before the winner's announced. But that comes back to something I was thinking earlier when you were saying about AI and kind of all the new tech coming out and how do we run Google when so much technology around. And actually, I think the crux of all of this is a great product sells itself. And that completely does both of us out of a job because it's like, it's a great product. I will move heaven and earth to purchase this product as a
Yeah.
customer if I need to, because it's such a great product. So I think the game really is get a great product and then work out how to communicate to new people that it is such a good product. We work with a few really cool apps now in Shopify. just focusing on e-commerce for a second, but on Shopify especially, where apps that do like loyalty programs and they reward people for uploading social content, user-generated content, videos, pictures of the product. And then because they're rewarding people for that, the terms and conditions are we'll give you the loyalty points, but we get to use the content. Content goes into a library in the back of Shopify or Magento or BigCommerce, and you can start actually using that content on the product pages themselves. So now your customers are selling the product. In the same way, if someone's got a really, mum or dad's wearing a really nice coat in the school playground waiting for their kids to come out of school, the other parents are like, oh, that's nice. Where'd you
Yeah.
get one of those? Or like, mum, when those massive water bottles that it's mostly women seem to have bought these massive water bottles. My wife's got one. And I said to her, like, how did you know to buy that? And she's like, I just lit around the gym one afternoon. Everyone had one. And then every time my water bottle ran out, I was like, I can solve this problem. And like now everyone's bought massive water bottles, but that's the good product effect. And I know it sounds so trivial because it's like in the gym, there's a water machine. You can just walk over, fill it up. Like every train station almost certainly the major train stations in the UK, airports, there's free tap water everywhere across the UK now. And I mean, bottled water is also not expensive. You get a coffee from a cafe and like, oh, could you fill up my water bottle? They'll always say yes. So it was never an issue, but it's just convenience. And it's like a fashion trend of having these giant water bottles, which
Yeah, water
some
bottle became
TikTokers,
accessory at some point.
yeah,
I don't know when that changed, but somewhere else
yeah.
the last couple of
There's some
years.
great TikTokers carrying like the massive, like the kind of like 30-liter ones around, like on a treadmill, holding one of those going, every woman in the gym right now. And it's like this massive thing. But I think it's just a good example of actually a good product sells itself and then the content around it becomes quite easy. I think if you're struggling to get sales, take a step back and go, what's wrong with the product? How many competitors have we got? How do we differentiate? And start to work on that. And I'd almost say ignore the AI at the moment. There's not a ton of opportunity. We're certainly not seeing AI do more than about 2 or 3% of sales on any business. It's still tiny. And those are the good ones.
Do you think it's a little short-sighted to be blocking yourself off from LLMs and everything as usage moves more and more towards these
Mm.
different platforms, or do you think it could end up being the best move in the long term? And I know this might be dependent client to client, but what's your overall
Yeah.
perspective?
Yeah, unfortunately, going back to what I was saying right at the start about data, it comes down to people's own perception within the marketing teams. They're the ones that the small handful of our clients that have blocked LLMs from the site. I would say to most people, if you just look at any platform when it exploded, like when Crowdfunder or Kickstarter came out, when TikTok launched, like you can't really go viral in the same way on TikTok you could 1 year ago. That's
Yeah,
how recent the bubble burst on TikTok. Where TikTok's still a fantastic platform and it's still very, very effective. But to get viral levels of views, you've got to pay for them now. And that was always going to happen. I think with LLMs, my advice really is jump on it as fast as possible because any extra traffic you're getting from an LLM, Google traffic doesn't seem to be dropping yet. People aren't preferring ChatGPT to Google. They're using the AI bots for research and then going and finding, I know exactly what kind of product I want. I like this one, but it's not quite right from this brand. So let's see what other brands have got. And
yeah,
that's where Google still is incredibly powerful for answering that question. But yeah, I would say to anyone, just embrace the AI. Like there's too much regulation in the world and the world's too closely monitored by authorities now for things to go like dramatically wrong.
yeah.
And when you look back, like when was the last time there was a massive, I mean, there was what 1 day or 2 days, there's been a massive global outage with Microsoft and Windows and other stuff in how many years? Like
Mhm.
it's a pretty safe space for things like AI where it is tech based. I mean, TikTok turned off very briefly in the United States. That was hilarious. But sitting over the other
And
side of the
there was
pond.
a giant crisis of people crying and people
But no
reevaluating.
one knew because TikTok was off. It was
Yeah,
brilliant.
exactly.
But,
They only found
yeah.
out about it a couple a day later, basically. But
Yeah. The AI bots told us. Yeah.
how are you? Because you kind of alluded to it earlier, but like,
Yeah. Mm,
there's so much change in the AI world or just the tech world in general, right?
mm.
I feel like every week I hear there's a new LLM model that beat the previous best model, or every
Yeah. Yeah.
couple weeks or something like that, right? And
And
then
no
it's
one knows what that
using
means.
this, yeah,
But the
and
cookies.
it's based on some criteria that people that are testing these things are
Mm,
looking at. And then there's, obviously overtraining to fit with the tests that people are doing. And so how great is it versus how is it just
yeah.
trained to actually answer these questions on these tests and perform the way that the tests want them to perform? And, there's a million different issues with it. But
Mm.
like, I guess, how are you trying to keep up with everything that's happening? Because there's a new AI tool every single day. I think I read a recent stat, and I'm skeptical on this being 100% true, but it seemed to come
Mm.
from a reliable source, which was that there's 1,000 companies in the world right now that are over 100 million ARR in the AI space. And I'm just
Wow.
like, do you think you could name more than 5 of these companies? Like, I don't think I could, right? And I feel like I'm fairly in the know. I feel like I'm using all these
Mm.
different LLMs, I'm using different AI tools and everything, but
Yep.
1,000 different businesses all doing,
Mm.
over 100 million ARR. How are people supposed to keep up with it, and how are you kind of approaching it?
It's a great question, and sorry, I keep saying great question because normally I'm asking the questions and people say that back. So today I get to say it to you. Great question. I I'm going to go back to data. I I myself am very guilty of shiny objects. I probably have about 10 of them around me. In fact, if I grab one, this stabilizes a microphone. And I think I bought it on Amazon about 2 years ago and I've never used it, but it has like some bands. I don't know how any of this kit works. Have some bands in the middle, but it doesn't work with this microphone I'm using right now. So I love shiny objects. So when AI comes along, mind blown. Like, whoa, AI is gonna do everything. It's gonna like be driving my car, it'll be controlling my house. I do have some Wi-Fi enabled plug sockets on all my lamps at home and my car charger. Like I can turn that on with Alexa, which I'm quite proud
Mhm,
about. I think we've got to go back to the data, and this is how I try not to get distracted. And it's been my philosophy long before AI. And I fail a lot of this. I try not to get distracted by shiny objects in businesses I could run, especially when I work in the same as you. You work in marketing. We get 1,000 years going, these guys don't know how to run their business. This client over here, let's just start our own. And then you start when you're like, this is a nightmare. Like, I can't believe they go through this every day. Like, and I was just doing the PPC account before. So I think with AI, I tried to look at the result. Like, where have we actually got a tangible change that AI has driven? And
mhm,
when my team, initially with AI, I said to my team every Friday, I want an update. What AI have we used this week? What AI would we like? What premium licenses could we get? What benefit do they have? And my team have got very, very good with each other as well as me of going, let's never bring a problem or a challenge or an opportunity. Let's bring a solution. And so when AI was coming out, it was like, okay, this Manus AI we used for a little bit, Manus.im, this sounds really, really cool. But what does it do? How do we use it? Someone said it can click buttons for us, turned out it actually couldn't. So $20 later, a month later, we had to play with it. It was all right, but it didn't give us much more for what we needed than other tools. So
mhm,
I always want to look at the result of this thing, but also being very careful with AI. I think the biggest place people go wrong with AI is they spend longer trying to get the AI to work than doing it themselves. And it's almost like if you imagine like
yeah,
gambling, yeah, the more time you've put in now, the more of a result you need to justify the time you put in. It's the same as gambling. The more money you spend betting on things, let's face it, everybody loses in gambling. That's why it's good fun, but it's stupid exercise when you look at it financially. If you gambled with fake money, perfect. Like that's the way to do gambling, in my opinion. But the more you gamble, the more money you put in, the more result you have to get back. Because like, hey, I put $1 in, I put 10 in, I put 100 in, I put 1,000, I put $200,000 in. And some rich people are literally spending this kind of money on a daily basis in casinos in Las Vegas,
mhm,
which means their return has to be so significant. And I take that with time. Time is a currency in all of our businesses. You know, time literally is money because a lot of us charge a lot. We don't, but a lot of people charge day rates. But we do monitor. Like we pay our staff by the month, so that's 30 days. We pay our office by the quarter, that's 90 days. So all our costs come down to days. So we have got to be careful with AI to say, I don't want to spend too much time using this AI. It starts to become inefficient. And what we did is we did a challenge, and I gave everyone a title and said, right, write a good article, all in the room, no conferring, no sharing your screen with anyone. Everyone, when I say go, and I put the title, I literally did a thing on the screen, and I just like pulled the sheet away and was like, "That's the title of the article and how many words it needs to be. Go." And when you think you're done, shut your laptop. And we all kept going until everyone had shut their laptop. And it was about 3 minutes for the longest person to write an article, and all of them were really good. Bear in mind, we write content for SEO and Google Ads, ad copy and stuff. All of the articles were really, really good. And the longest one was 3 minutes. I was like, all right, now, and then a week later said, right, same exercise. Everyone open your favorite chatbot and get me a decent article that's as good as that. And it was like 8 minutes. I was like, all right, so it's twice as long. Bear in mind how much content we need to push out, and product descriptions are updating, collection descriptions, and ad copy. We're changing like hour by hour. We're changing hundreds, maybe thousands of ads across the agency. And we're not even a team of 20 here yet. Like we're working really efficiently, but AI is not helping with that. Spreadsheets and formulas are. So like we just got to pick the right tech at the right time. So we're trying to keep a pulse on it. I'm less interested in AI bots crawling websites for SEO and stuff at the moment. That's not an issue because the crawlers we've got work. The issue we found with AI is because it's more of a conversation, you're trying to teach it something, which actually brings in a bit of the human element, which is it can make mistakes. Whereas if
Yeah.
you send a crawler to a website and says, tell me how many title tags are incorrectly formatted or mess descriptions that are missing or pages that load too slowly, these are statistical questions that have a numerical response. And I
Mhm.
don't want an AI bot thinking too much about that. It's like, just grab the stat and log it. I asked several AI bots the same question about, and it was a mass question of what altitude do you need to get to boil a pint of water using this many kilowatts of energy. And you know the whole thing: the higher up you go, the less
Yeah.
energy you need to boil. They all came back with different answers, and I was like, there is a statistical, like, it's
Mhm.
a calculation. There's only one answer. I can't remember the exact answer, but it was like, I think it was like 20,000 feet up or something. You can now boil a pot of water for the kilowatts I put in. It's a maths question, and it just couldn't get it right. And I asked it things like, how many books are there in the Bible? And it couldn't. There's 66, but they all came out with slightly different answers, and a long-winded answer. I was like, I just need one numerical figure, and it's only got two characters, and it's 66. That's the answer, and it couldn't come back with them. So I'm I'm trying to be as like excited as I am dubious about AI, and we carve out bits of time to play with it. We do have processes where it works quite well, but we have to keep an eye on those processes. It's like, all right, squish 2 days into an hour, so which is I can afford to spend a few hours checking it all, making sure it's all right. But
Mhm.
in terms of keeping up with it, I look at the data and go, this AI bot over here is saving us time, or it's making the client more money, or this chat bot we've put on a client's site, conversion rate has lifted. And we might have one version of the site with it, one without. That's an A/B test, and we got a concrete answer that the chatbot is helping. And so we got a statistical numerical number to confirm that.
So that's actually a great point because I've seen a lot of these chatbots on like e-commerce sites specifically.
Hmm.
Some are really good, some are really bad, some are in between. Like
Yeah.
I guess not just with AI chatbots specifically and what tools people are using, but also like in general, what are you seeing that works really well from an AI perspective inside e-commerce now?
Yeah. I'm trying not to say great question. There's a lot I can unpack in that.
Yeah.
I think
Maybe
with
start with the AI chatbots and then we'll get to like the
yeah,
general.
the chatbots are probably one of the most common places I'm seeing it. Image production is really big. So people going, let's just get white background images, which we can shoot in our studio really quickly. Now we
Yeah.
can place the image wherever we want. And also there's no copyright because the AI bot made the picture of the beach with the sunglasses on it or something. So
Yeah.
that's quite useful. With the chatbots, I I was asking someone recently who's been playing with chatbots quite a lot, one of our clients, and I said, "How? Did you tell customers first of all that they're using a chatbot?" And they said, "Yes." So it's called like I am Bob AI for
Yeah.
intents and purposes, and I think that's quite useful so people know they're talking to one. And but then it also had he said one of the biggest winning things was it also had a statistic to say I solved 97% or whatever the number was. I solve a big percentage this percent last week of customer queries. So please say in a few words what exactly you need help with today. And like such a big percentage of them were like, where's my order? And it's like, oh, they tried to deliver it yesterday, but it's not there yet. And I can see that I can check the courier's order information. Or I ordered this product that was out of stock. Do you know when it's coming back in? Yes, there's a shipment that's halfway to our warehouse in Denver right now. And then once it arrives in Denver, it can be dispatched direct. And we're also going to we've also refunded your delivery fee already. Jobs are good. And I think just finding out binary information like that is really, really smart.
Yeah.
Where people are playing with using AI as like a personal shop assistant, like
Yeah.
I was saying earlier, and that's where it's coming a bit unstuck because it's fine for me to go and ask ChatGPT as a customer, what color clothes should I buy, or what size should I get, or what size do you think I'd look best in, what brands sell that kind of size. Those questions are fine. As soon as a brand is providing an AI bot, the customer perception now is the brand is talking to me,
Mhm.
not ChatGPT. ChatGPT, I can excuse if it's wrong, and it'll be wrong a few times before it's right. A customer chatbot on a website, I'm expecting them to be the best employee they've got who knows the
Yeah, they
most
need
about
to
the
know the
business.
product cold, or they need to know like the variety, the business cold, I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah.
Yeah.
But here's a cool stat. When we put an AI chatbot on one of our client sites, we went back and can you guess what the most asked thing was? Because it categorized them all. What was the
Mhm.
most asked thing to the AI bot? And they knew it was an AI bot. It said, hey, I'm an AI
Yeah.
bot.
I don't know. I can't even imagine. What would it be?
Speak to a human. That was the most common thing.
Actually,
Can I
that's
speak to a
actually so
human?
obvious when you
Yeah.
think of it. Yeah. No, because I even do that all the time too. I'm just like, "No, I know you're not gonna help me. Can I please speak to a
Yeah.
human?" And
I
then
copy and paste it, and then I just like double tap on my phone, paste, and then
yeah,
like send again. I just keep sending it until it like, and ignore whatever it says. And eventually it goes, I'm connecting you to someone. And then I do say thank you. It's like, yeah, get me through. But,
it's funny, I always say thank you to LLMs, like, when I'm talking to ChatGPT
mm,
or I'm talking to anything, I'm like, "Hey, can I get this, please? Thank you." And all these
yeah,
different
yeah. Have you used voice mode before rather than just typing?
No, I have used it on my phone, a couple times, but, like, I find that it doesn't pick up the words super well, and
Yeah,
I don't
yeah, gotcha.
just the way I speak or talking too
Yeah.
fast, whatever it
I've
is.
tried it a few times, and I found something. What I found quite interesting with it is I did it with Grok the other day, and I did it through my Apple CarPlay in the car, and that worked because cars have like modern cars have multiple microphones to pick up your voice. That worked really well. I don't know if Grok knew it was because it was a Grok app on my phone, and I
Yeah.
just clicked like start voice mode conversation, and on my drive to work, I asked it those things like, "What's the latest news headlines today? Has anything happened in this industry? Like, is there any e-commerce news overnight about Amazon, Walmart?" Because I was doing a podcast that morning. I thought I'll get ahead on this. Are there any big e-commerce businesses being bought or sold at the moment, or any transactions that have gone through? And it was like, oh yeah, Walmart's bought this company. I'm like, that's useful for me to know. And it was quite nice. And then it asked, what's the weather? Have any bands I like listening to on Spotify? And you couldn't connect Spotify. But I was like, have
Mhm.
any bands I like listening to? Have they released any new songs or albums recently? And could you play them? It couldn't do that. But then I've got an Audi and a BMW, and my Audi's got ChatGPT built into the voice system. So I
Mm,
ask that stuff now and be like, yeah, can you play Spotify on Apple CarPlay for me on my phone while I'm driving? And it's like, yeah, sure. What playlist would you like me to play? And it can like control things.
that's
So it's
really
quite cool
cool.
using because it's the Apple system. Sorry, it's the Audi system with Apple running. So
Yeah.
again, things like that quite see. I do. I can't tell you what the opportunity for an e-commerce brand right now is with that, but there will be opportunities coming up. There will be. I think where we've got like phone calls, letters, going in store, email marketing, social ads, where we've got all of that, I do think there's going to be an opportunity through AI eventually where AI is going to go, you've got 9 notifications this morning, and one of them is that your favorite e-commerce clothing brand has got a sale on. Just started their end of summer sale.
Mhm.
Would you like me to send you a task to have a look at that later? You're free at 3 o'clock. I think that is what AI is going to start doing eventually, but no one trusts it yet. I think Google's made some good headway on Pixel. I see all the Pixel adverts, and I feel
Yeah.
like I should move from Apple to Pixel. Everything I've got has got a Mac logo on it, and I like that it works at the moment. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think we'll
No,
move back at some point.
it's funny, all the Google Pixel ads right now are basically getting AI that actually works, essentially, is
Yeah.
basically their, like, huge pitch with, the new, Pixel 10, is it? Yeah, I think Pixel 10.
Yeah, there's the Samsung Flip phone as well. That seems to have loads of ads here in the UK at the moment. They're like, there's a queue at a restaurant, and they're like, "Yeah, do you find me another restaurant? One that we're looking for something a bit different." It's like, "Here you go." I
Mhm.
tried that, and it sent me to a kebab shop. Now, I love a kebab, but my wife was not impressed at all. And we had our little baby with us, and it was like, it's not the vibe for kebab shop. Kebab shop was like, 9, 10 p.m. after a few
Yeah.
beers, but
No, that's the best time for them, right? The AIs you mentioned that, like, I don't know if you are implementing these AI sales assistants or, like,
Hmm,
colleagues of yours, friends of yours, whoever. Um, are you seeing them we've talked a lot about, like, the problems they're having and the weaknesses they have and all these different
hmm,
things, but do you actually see them working at all? Like, do you see these uplifts in conversion rates? Do you see the increases in average order values or
hmm.
engagement time on the site? All these different things that should be a direct result of these
Yeah, yeah.
different being implemented?
See, I'm going to pick up on engagement time for a sec, and then I'll come back to your question. There was a Google leak last summer, and it was fascinating to find out that Google Chrome, we all hinted at this, but now we know it. Google Chrome was created for SEO purposes. Because on Google Chrome, Google can watch people use the internet. So
Mm,
when it comes to like dwell time on a page, how long people spend on that page, bounce rate, site engagements, it's Chrome watching all of that. I created a little script to watch what information Chrome was recording, and they're really good at hiding it. You can't see it in any of the obvious codes. It's quite
yeah,
interesting. But so with dwell time as well, it's not where Google has got advanced and where things have changed. It's not so much about like it used to be like the longer you're on a page and still engaging, the better. Whereas now it's not. It's like if you go on that site, get your answer, leave that site, and don't go to a competitor. Jobs are good. And it's like that's the best site for answering that quickly. But there are nuances to everything. Like if someone goes back to Google and does a search something similar, it's like, okay, they searched for something, they went on one page, clearly totally wrong, and they've now changed their search and gone to a different website. So they clearly were going down the wrong road in the first place. And Google then presents the thing that people look for on their second search, if it's a common journey that people do a search, click, do another search, and go somewhere else. Google started showing the sites from the second search at the top for the first search. So there's
Yeah.
loads of little things like that where they're getting really savvy with it. I don't have any case studies to share on it, if I'm honest, and I normally have a million things to say about anything. One thing I will say is the chat bots, where they're being used well, they are saving a lot of human resource in customer service, both pre-sales and post-sales. And that is post-sales, the order confirmations and tracking and stuff like that. The pre-sales as well is if somebody says like, okay, this product's out of stock, when's it coming back in? If your chatbot knows that or has access to your Shopify inventory and is smart enough to say, well, it's gone out of stock 3 times this year, and the longest it was out of stock for was 2 weeks.
Mhm.
That's a smart response. And if you train that chatbot to then say, do you want to give me your email and I'll set you up for a back in stock email on this?
Yeah.
Yes, I would. Here's my email. And then it emails you immediately. You asked me to tell you when this is back in stock. Here are 8 others that are very, very similar. Or it says that on the chat while they're still there. That one's not there, but we've got lots of similar ones, or I can tell you when it comes back in. What would you like to do? And I think with chatbots as well, don't then say, type 1 for option 1 and 2 for option 2. Like that was pre AI. That was like the kind of, you're just in a menu, like on the phone. It's like press 2 for sales. And okay.
Mhm.
So I think making it more conversational, but the stats, they're so nuanced. I think one of the hardest things with chat is we find this a lot in non-e-commerce and lead gen. As soon as you got a chatbot, even if humans are behind it, answering the live chat, once you got chat, it's really hard to attribute any data because that conversation immediately gets taken offline from the site. So if you know we had 50 leads this month instead of 100 through the web forms because we launched the live chat, but there's been 250 people have used the live chat, you can look at total leads, but what you can't see now is which keyword and advert or SEO query has
Exactly.
actually triggered that interaction. So there's swings and roundabouts with all of this. Some brands either try and go, I mean, let's not talk too much about attribution today, it's a nightmare, but just at a headline, some brands try to just go, we're just going to keep changing stuff and watch what the bottom line does. And it's like, we're getting more profitable. Good. We did that. Got less profitable. Bad. Like, and we just kind
Mhm.
of put money in certain budgets accordingly. Other brands are like, every single click that we pay for, we want to track the whole thing and make decisions based on that. I'd say we're probably erring more on number 2, but we do have some clients on number 1 where it's like, you've pumped your Facebook budget up more than Google. Doesn't make sense. Less people are coming in from Facebook and Google and purchasing, but your total revenue's up. And it's like, just, it drives me mad and my teams. We're like, we want some numbers to confirm it, but we also don't like deny it. We're like, it's
Yeah.
working, do more of it and see how far we can push this thing. And then we'll find the next thing. But I think there's not a lot of data on it. And it's so nuanced. Like some chatbots, you can give like full reign, say whatever you want. Other ones, you're like, only answer these questions and then get it onto a human support ticket as fast as possible and tell them we respond in 24 hours or 1 working day or something. Yeah, there's not loads of stats on it, but certainly people are not using AI to like produce like not produce, but like personalized on-page content per user who's arriving yet. That is coming. So personalization is happening a lot, but for an AI bot, so you're basically almost having a conversation with someone rather than even shopping around a Shopify store. That is coming. I don't know if it's going to work, but people are going to start testing that. I can see
Yeah.
it starting to happen.
Well, even I think it was Big Commerce that recently rebranded to Commerce, and then all their whole rebrand talked about agentic commerce and all of
Mm,
that. But I haven't actually seen any actual examples of agentic commerce being in
yeah.
the actual field. Like nobody's buying through just
Mm,
LLM, like automatically knowing that I need to reorder laundry detergent and therefore
yeah.
go and set up an order. Like it's just not the way people work, right? They want to like see the product, they want to feel it, they want to like
Mm.
know what's happening. And I doubt to an extent that people will trust like, uh, a random LLM with their credit card information, just buy them whatever they want, whatever it feels
It
okay.
might connect to like Apple Pay or Google Pay or take you to the payment screen. I think is probably the first step. But yeah, you're right.
And I don't know, it's just so fascinating to me, like that big commerce went in that direction specifically when we haven't
Mm,
seen any proof of that actually working
mm.
in either B2B or B2C right now.
Yeah. The
As far as
biggest problem with tech, the tech adoption curve, right? Where you get like the pioneers adopt it and they're a small group, and then everyone starts adopting it. Suddenly it flies. And then
Right.
there's a few people who are like, all right, fine, I'll get a smartphone. I still know 3 people that don't have smartphones. And part of me's like, really like, okay, come on, sort yourself out. Because I want to send you a WhatsApp, or you're missing out on all these Instagram reels and memes and stuff.
Right.
But also part of me is like, okay, maybe that's a nice life. It's a very quiet life. But
Definitely
yeah,
would be more sane for sure.
yeah, but I think that the tech adoption of AI as well is it's moving again. It's moving too quick for everyone. So if AI is like doing back end process stuff, like you do a bank transfer and the AI kind of sorts it all out and does the fraud prevention, and so that kind of helps. I mean, you guys in the US, you don't really have bank transfers for paying for e-commerce stuff yet, which I find bizarre. We use it a lot in the UK, and you don't have to pay any card fees. But then you've probably got massive financial banks making loads of money out of the card fees. There's someone trying to stop it happening. But
Yeah.
the but yeah, I think that with the adoption curve, it's like people are not using it for back end, fine, but people are not really adopting chat bots yet as like a day-to-day thing. People are quite wary of them. I even saw some stats recently on like the amount of people that are removing Alexas from their like bedroom and their Google, whatever it's called, and Siri and stuff, taking them out of the bedroom and stuff. Because when mum and dad are busy, they don't want anyone listening. It's like those kind of things. But I think it's interesting. There's always like this bit of an adverse effect tech. And there have been some really good bits of tech over the years that people have like gone, no, not touching it, not touching it, not touching it, not touching it. All right, fine, let's start using it. And sometimes it has taken decades. I don't think AI is going to be the same, but we really don't know at this stage. You just need one big incident to hit the headlines and everyone's going, hey, is that Apple? Yeah, yeah. How do I turn the AI off? Like, I don't want to be
Yeah.
involved in this. And it's like no one's watched Marvel, where Vision or whatever his name is becomes the thing. And there's the
Yeah.
big AI war. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think the next 2 to 3 years are probably the time frame of really seeing how it rolls out. I think it's going to be any longer than that. But
No, I mean, I think I completely agree with you. These things always take longer than a lot of people think, especially like the early adopters are like, oh, this is already providing value instantly.
hmm,
But we forget that there's
yeah,
95% of people out there that aren't in this space and don't care and just live their day-to-day lives. And, if you're running a bake shop or something like that,
mm,
you don't care if the most recent LLM, you don't think care if Grok's better than ChatGPT, who's better than
yeah,
Claude,
yeah,
better than Gemini, or what's happening there. And I worked at IBM in 2016, 2017, and we were
mm.
actually selling the very early versions of what like Chat GPT and everything kind of
Oh
is
wow,
nowadays. IBM
yeah, yeah.
called Watson, if you're familiar with Watson. Most
I've
people
no,
aren't.
not. Yeah, yeah.
But they didn't call it AI back then. What they actually called it was cognitive computing, which was
Mm.
basically just AI. It was still, large language
That's
models,
interesting. Yeah,
and it never caught
nice.
on. And we thought when we saw the results of what it was doing, even 2016, so this is literally a decade ago, um, the the results that you'd get from searches are
Mm.
very similar to the things that I was seeing back when ChatGPT released back in 2021 or
Yeah,
whatever
yeah,
it was. And it was just so funny going like, this is what caught fire out of
mm.
everything. This went to 100 million users, super quickly. IBM was doing the exact same thing with cognitive computing and Watson back in 2016, and
Yeah.
nobody used it, and we couldn't even sell it. Like,
I
nobody
mean,
wanted nobody trusted it, just
yeah,
and
yeah,
the world wasn't ready or something, and then, 2021, COVID happens, we're all on our computers way more often, now we're like, "Okay, now we'll give this
yeah.
thing a try," or I don't know, it's just so funny, like, seeing how these technologies kinda get adopted. Obviously, it wasn't as good as what ChatGPT did, but I wouldn't
Mm.
say it was noticeably worse for the general day-to-day stuff that you'd be trying
Yeah,
to do,
yeah,
general questions you'd be asking and stuff, but nobody used it. None of the business customers used it. It was impossible to sell. Nobody
yeah,
cared, and now it's just like, a decade later, everyone wants it now, so I
yeah,
find
yeah.
it so funny.
Yeah, I remember it was on MSN Messenger, I think, or Skype, probably MSN back in the day. I think it was Smarter Child. It was identical to ChatGPT, just not as clever. But
Yeah,
you could have a conversation with it. You could ask it stuff. It had access to the internet. It could see things. It could learn things. It was taught things. It could do maths equations and tell you things about your science homework. Like it existed and it was running for a long time. It's like when ChatGPT really boomed, like 2 years ago, like 23, 24. I was like, I've seen this before. It's much better, and it can integrate with systems, and the world's better. But it was the same process, wasn't it? Like, it was just, you talk to a chatbot, and it was replying with things. And banks have been using them for a long time, and lots of customer support teams and stuff like that. So, yeah,
Anyways, like we're kind of out of time. I'm gonna have to hop off in a couple
yeah,
minutes here.
yeah, same.
Nick, I really appreciate this, man. This was great.
Mm.
Tell everyone where, if they want help with SEO, PPC, general e-com strategy, where can they kind of reach out to you and everything like that?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's absolute pleasure to have me on. So thank you so much. We work with brands across the US, UK. Most of our podcast listeners are in the US as well, and Canada. So yeah, if you want to reach out, spec.digital is our website. You can also check out the podcast called Winning with Shopify. If you search that in any of the good audio platforms like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, find us across all channels. We've also got a website. If you want to go and sign up to our newsletter as well, we don't just talk about Shopify, but Shopify is obviously the core of the audience. So yeah, thanks so much for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, this is great, man. I really appreciate it. Have a good rest of your day.
Cool. Thanks a lot, Eric.
Bye.